Good morning, my name's Steven and I'm a service technician here with Cougar RV. We're going to be doing a video walkthrough on this Cougar High Country, so by the time I'm done with it, hopefully you'll have a basic understanding how your unit works. Alright, so we're going to start with the sewage system for this walkthrough. This is usually what concerns a new RV owner the most, and this is really simple to use as long as you know where everything is and how to use it. First, let's talk location. So, on the wall of your RV, on what you would consider the driver's hand side, you're going to find a bunch of different stickers. Sewer outlet connection, gray tank, black tank, and this unit actually has two gray tanks. And the location of the second is going to be right here. Now, these stickers correspond to valves, and we're going to see them up underneath, for this one, the frame of the camper. And then right next to the sewer outlet down here are our other two valves. Now, since I've got black tank here, we know that the right-hand side valve is my black tank, or my black valve. This is one of my gray valves, and the other gray valve is the one up front. So, to drain your sewage system, this is very easy. You're going to hook up your sewer tube to this outlet right here. It's going to go on with the exact same type of bayonet fittings that this cap has. Then you're going to go ahead and put your sewer tube at an approved dump station, and I never want you to pull these valves until you are hooked up to your sewer tube and at an approved dump station. Once we've got that done, then the first thing you do always is drain your black tank. You're going to go ahead, reach underneath here, get that black valve, and pull it down towards you. Then your black tank will drain. You're going to know it's finished draining when you stop seeing your sewer tube move or you stop hearing trickling water. We've also included a clear adapter piece so that you'll actually be able to tell when everything's completely emptied out. Once that's done, you're going to leave your black valve open and you're going to take a garden hose. And you don't want to use a white hose, the white hose that you use for clean water for the RV. Just use a regular green garden hose and hook it up to this right here. Notice this is labeled Sewer Tank Flusher. On the inside of your black tank, you've got a little spinner that works like the top of a dishwasher. It's going to shoot pressurized water all the way around the inside of your black tank, scrubbing your black tank clean. And this is very important because your black tank is everything from your toilet. Now, once you've got that hooked up, you've got your hose running, you're going to let that run for 2 to 5 minutes, or since you do have that clear adapter, until you see the water coming out of your black tank is completely clean. Once it's completely clean, what you want to do is leave this hose running and shut your black valve. While you do that, you're going to count to about 15 and then turn off the garden hose. That's going to give you 1.5 gallons of water in the bottom of your black tank. This is important because you always want to start with a base of clean water and 2 ounces of an enzyme-based toilet chemical in your black tank before you begin using the unit. You're also going to do this after every time you dump. As long as there's a base of clean water and chemical in there, any solids that hit it will immediately start dissolving, and that's what we're looking for in a system like this. So, you've drained your black tank, you've flushed your black tank, you've added the water, you've turned off your garden hose. Then the next thing you need to do is drain your gray tanks. It doesn't matter which gray tank you drain first, but just remember you only want one tank open at a time and you want to make sure it drains completely. Now, a couple of extra things about your sewer system that you should know. First off, only use RV or marine toilet paper. Some folks might tell you that it's okay to use single-ply toilet paper. That's incorrect. It's not going to dissolve when it hits that chemical in that water, so you want to make sure you're using RV-grade toilet paper. Second, always make sure you get an enzyme-based toilet chemical. Some of them are just detergents or masking agents. You want something that actually breaks down solids, so always use a good enzyme-based cleaning chemical. Other than that, just make sure you only have one valve open at a time, and remember that your tanks are going to drain more completely if they're at least half full. So don't have your valves open even if you're connected permanently to a sewer. Just drain them when you need to. You'll know the condition of your tanks, how full they are, when you go inside to your monitor panel and check it. Once we get to the inside of the unit, I'll show you how your monitor panel operates. Alright, now that we've done the sewage system, we're going to talk about how you get clean water into your camper. Now, this camper has 2 different ways to get clean water into it. One, you've got your city water connection right here. And number 2, we have our water tank fill right here. You're going to have a small silver key with your keys. It's going to be a 751 key, and that's what will open this compartment. So, you're going to see, this is what is called a tank fill or a gravity fill. And the end of your hose, just stick it right in here, and you're going to fill this freshwater holding tank when you're taking water with you when you're traveling. Now, I believe you're going to have a permanent campsite, so that most likely means that you're going to have a water hose on your site, meaning you're not really going to need to use this particular freshwater connection. Just remember a couple things about it. One, there is a drain underneath here, right here. If you wish to empty your freshwater holding tank, you just open up that drain. And 2, when you're filling this, when water either spits out of the screen or you hear it spitting out of the overflow underneath, you know that this tank is full. Now, since I believe this is going to be on a permanent campsite, you're most likely going to be using your city water connection. This will hook directly to a hose, and you're going to want to use a pressure regulator, which we're including in your starter kit, because any pressure more than 40 to 50 psi runs the risk of damaging the piping in a camper. Now, when you're using your city water connection, you will not need to use your water pump, being as you have pressurized water already coming into the camper. You only have to turn on your water pump if you're traveling and you wish to use your water holding tank. Remember that both of these, this is what that white hose is for, and this is the only thing you want to use that white hose for. If you're going to be washing your camper or using your sewer tank flusher, do get yourself just a standard green garden hose. The reason you don't want to use a green garden hose for your fresh water in a camper is that those hoses contain a small amount of formaldehyde, and we don't want to drink that. So, when you're using your city water connection, use your white hose and use your pressure regulator, and you just leave the hose on and you're good to go. You have unlimited water coming into your camper. While we're talking about water, let's talk about your water heater. So this is the access panel for your water heater. And this is what your water heater looks like on the outside of your camper. Now, there are no controls for your water heater out here. The only thing you need to know about out here is how to drain your water heater. And that's really simple. First off, you're going to see this is what we call a temperature and pressure relief valve. And then this right down here is our drain plug. Before we ever try to remove our drain plug, we want to go ahead and open up our temperature and pressure relief valve until water no longer dribbles out of it. Once water is no longer dribbling out, we know that the pressure is down, and then it's safe to remove our drain plug. Now, the reason you're going to want to do this is twofold. First off, if you ever winterize this camper, you are going to need to drain and empty your water heater's holding tank. Otherwise, you may wish to do this about once a month. Just go ahead and drain it. That's to keep from getting stagnant water in your water heater and, to prevent it from smelling kind of funky. If you've ever had a canteen that you left water in too long, the same thing can happen with the water heater in a camper. So just remember to drain this water heater. First, relieve all your pressure through the temperature and pressure relief valve, and then go ahead and remove your drain plug right down there. Now, this is a soft nylon drain plug, and that's generally going to be what you want to use. I would not recommend replacing it with a metal drain plug. If you ever find this leaking a small amount, just wrap some Teflon tape around it. That's really the best way to go. These drain plugs usually only hold up for a couple of years. They're a couple of dollars, so you may have to replace it in time, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. So we've talked about water in the camper. Let's talk about power. This is your shore cord, and this is a 50 amp RV, so you're going to want to have a 50 amp receptacle wired for you, or you're going to want to be at 50 amp campsites. If you ever find yourself adapting from a 50 amp to a 30 amp campsite, you should be good. This unit, although it is a 50 amp unit, doesn't have a second air conditioner. You should be able to run just about everything off of 30 amps, but ideally you're going to be at a 50 amp spot. If you ever find yourself adapting from this 50, and we've given you an adapter from 50 to 30, and from 30 to the 15 or 20 amp wall socket, if you're in a standard household wall socket, you're not going to want to run your air conditioner. You're really just going to want to turn on your lights, maybe run your fridge. Anything more than that's going to be drawing too much power through that cord. Now, behind the shroud on the front of your RV, you're also going to have propane tanks. Several of the appliances in your RV are operatable off of both electricity or propane, and of course you have a gas oven and a gas stovetop, and those are only operatable off of propane. So, two 30-pound propane tanks, and you have back here what's called an automatic switchover regulator. The way this works is if you have both of the valves in the on position on your tanks, when one tank goes empty, it'll automatically start drawing out of the other. So that reduces the amount of time that you have to come out here and switch stuff over. You're going to find that 60 pounds, which is the total amount of propane you have on this camper, is probably going to be enough to last you several months at a time of full-time living in this unit. You can also talk to local propane companies. Some of them will come out and install much larger tanks for you. It would not actually be installed on your RV. They generally just sit it next to it and hook it into your RV's propane system. That way, you're going to have to get those tanks filled a whole lot less often. While we're here, you're going to have to come around this way. Your RV also has a battery. Now, this battery is really mostly important for when you're going to be traveling with the unit, or when you're somewhere where you aren't going to be able to plug your unit in. Just remember that this is a deep cycle marine battery, and deep cycle marine batteries do require a little bit of maintenance. On the top of this battery, underneath this battery case, you'll see the top of a deep cycle marine battery has a couple of little panels on it. You need to pry those panels off once every year starting next year. It's a brand new battery right now. And check the water level inside. You'll see a little fill point, and if it's ever below that fill point, you need to add distilled water and bring it back up to that filled point. It has to be only distilled water. Filtered or bottled isn't good enough. Also remember that you're diluting sulfuric acid in there, so you're going to want to probably have on some rubber gloves and maybe use a turkey baster and use some eye protection as well. Now, if you're going to be away from the camper for more than, I don't know, say a couple weeks at a time, if you come over this way, inside this compartment, right back over here, is a battery disconnect, and you can see the switch and it says disconnect on or off. When it's on, the battery is operable. When it's off, the battery is isolated from the rest of the camper. So if you're going to be away from the camper, you may want to come out here and turn that switch to the off position. Now, one last thing about your battery. Just remember that over the winter, if you're not using the camper, you are going to want to remove the battery from the camper, put it inside a warm environment, a garage or a shed, and trickle charge it for 12 hours a month. If a water-filled battery loses its charge in freezing temperatures, it itself will freeze, it'll rupture, and you're going to have to buy a new one in the spring. Alright, now while we're on the outside of the camper, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about your slides. There's very little that you need to personally do with these slides, but there are a couple of points that you need to remember. First off, you never support these slides from underneath. They're perfectly fine the way that they are. Also, you're never going to get on the roof of the slide. You can be on the roof of this camper to inspect the condition of the roof, but do not stand on the roof of the slides. Other than that, you're going to see that your slides have seals. You've got a seal on each side and one seal on the top of the slide. Every 6 months or so, you're going to want to use a rubber slide room seal conditioner. You can get that at any RV store. You're going to wet down a rag with it, and you're going to wipe all of these seals until they're nice and shiny. That's going to keep them flexible, and of course, as long as they're flexible and not cracked, they're going to keep water out, and they're going to keep your air conditioning and heat in. So just remember, once every 6 months, treat these with rubber slide room seal conditioner. Other than that, you may find that you have to lubricate these slides after a few years. Just go ahead and look inside your owner's manual, find out which lubricant they recommend and how often they recommend it. Another thing, since you're going to be permanently living in this unit, every couple of months you're probably going to want to go ahead and fully run these slides back in and run them back out. That's just to keep all the moving parts moving. Any motor needs to be exercised just like a muscle, so make sure that every couple of months you just close your slides and run them back out.